sciences. I think they're introducing other that's within the same. But there is this statement, they say, let me just pick it rightly, and then we begin from there. It's a pleasure to host you tonight, and I look forward to a great engagement. As I do that, I want to just confirm that our moderator is in. Our moderator, if you can say hi, as I get this link.
Hi, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. We are glad to have you this evening, and we are looking forward to interacting with you.
That's our moderator tonight. She will be introducing herself in a moment. Alongside that, I have 4 amazing panelists, and I'll start with Ms. Melvin Akinyi. Ms. Mel, if you can just say a word.
All right, I would also just follow the good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. This is Ms. Melvin Akinyi. I'm more than glad to have all of you here. I see the number is really good. And in this teaching profession, definitely this is the way to go for all teachers, just equipping yourself every other day with the new and also the competition that the students are bringing forth. So being here is quite something that you are gonna go home and be happy about what you've learned today. So Ms. Melvin Akinyi will be one of your panelists. I am a teacher by profession. I give credit to my P1 education where I got most of my training, and then to my undergraduate where I did economics and business. And I just left it so that I get into inclusion more because my passion, I'm an enthusiast of special needs education. Thank you, Mr. Felix, back to you.
Thank you. We already began. I'll still come back to Ms. Melvin later on as we begin our discussion tonight. Again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Please do mention on the chat where you're joining in from. This is an event organized by STEAM Labs Africa in collaboration with Educator Center and Educators Network, which is a community within Kenya and within Africa that is trying to empower educators, transform education, and, you know, by that chance, empower generations. All right, then, let's continue. With me now, I'm going to paraphrase the statement that I mentioned earlier. I'll be bringing. Later on, I will confirm all the other panelists are here, then we begin officially. So the statement by Century Tech, an organization based in the UK, paraphrasing because I can't seem to find it tonight, it says that every learner learns in their own pace and in their own learning style. Learning style and learning pace. If our teaching was informed by that, then personalized learning, individualized learning, UDL, scaffolding, differentiated instruction would be the order of the day. But then tonight, we're going to look at the abilities of our learners differently, and we're going to see what is possible with the inclusive pedagogies. What are they and what shall they do to us? Joel. Joel? All right, then. Well, I think we should start with a video, just telling us who these people are. Joel, you need to enable your sound, and then we begin this discussion and show it is full screen. Let's give him some minutes as he gets that fixed. Thank you, everyone who is joining. You can see a lot of chat down there. Joel, we cannot hear that. I'm ready to see if I can assist as much as I can. Thank you for your patience. We're going to start this quickly. Thank you, Sagao, for joining us, Mr. Sagao. Thank you, Mr. Robin, for joining us tonight. They are trying to get the sound for us, and we begin our session. All right, seem to be having a challenge there with the sound. Joel, I think we just skip that part. Maybe you can just present the presentation. Okay, let's see. I think we still need the sound. The sound is not clear still, Joel. I think you can move around the top there and you'll be able to see where you can share audio. Apologies for this delay. We're getting this done. Maybe what we can do in the meantime, I can just proceed with the discussion for today, which is UDL, and then we can replay that video at the end in the interest of time, and so that we can support one another in this endeavor that we are engaged in. So Joel, you can just share the screen, or I can just go ahead if you allow. Thank you. Just go to present and then we continue with that. Okay. The main question we are asking today, why do we need even to talk about these inclusive pedagogies? And what is inclusive? What is pedagogy? And how do we bring this in the classroom so as to transform education altogether? And we're looking at 4 major areas. We are saying that for us to continually ensure equity and access for all learners, inclusive education is something we want to see. Inclusive pedagogies is something we want to look at. How do we deliver to our learners equally and ensure that each and every one of them accesses quality education, in their diverse ways in the way they learn, the pace and the learning style. Secondly, we also want to see if it's possible, whether the children or the learners are differently abled or the way they are organized, if they can, do what we call achievement of their learning outcomes faster or even in a better way. Then thirdly, we're looking at empowering our learners and preparing them for a diverse world. We are asking them to thrive in a multicultural and interconnected societies. There is a global movement that is happening, and we want to ensure that that is a success and our people, our children are ready for the world. Finally, we look at critical life skills, where we're looking at collaboration, communication, and empathy skills. So it is important that we ensure that those are 4 areas that we mentioned there. The critical skills, preparing learners for a diverse world, enabling or enhancing achievement of learning outcomes, and equity and access for all learners. Remember, this is not just for specific students. There are all these students in our classroom. Each and every one of them is differently abled. Join me now as we go to the what we'll cover today. Then from there, the panel will take over. We will cover 1, understanding inclusivity in education, whether we're talking about foundation and frameworks. We look at differentiated instruction. We look at UDL, Universal Design for Learning. We will be looking at collaboration and cooperative learning, Joel. And away from that, there will be 4 more other areas where we look at Joel. We'll look at parents and family engagement. I'm waiting for Joel Kahindi to move to the next slide. We'll look at how we can support the students who Ms. Melvin mentioned something about special educational needs, students who need to be supported within those inclusive settings. And finally, we'll look at how AI is affecting how AI and technology are generally affecting all that, while considering culturally relevant pedagogy, because we have students from all over the world because of the global movement and global citizenship. So that much ado, I want to bring to you our panelists moderator. Our moderator today. We have Joel, our leader, a powerful educator with Bachelor's of Education in Education, English and Literature from Kenyatta University, and currently finalizing our Master's in Education in Emergencies in University of Nairobi in Kenya. She is a programs researcher focusing on those children in emergency areas, that is refugees and others, where conflict is, a concern. And passionate about this, Aquilina Nawire Wafula, all the way from, will be moderating this session and taking us from here. Welcome, our amazing, remarkable educator, Aquilina Nawire. Aquilina, you can hear me? All right, as she gets ready, maybe we can go to the, yeah, you can hear us? Okay, as she gets that.
Can you hear
Aquilina,
me?
if you're ready. Yes, we can hear you clearly. Please take over.
Okay. So you can write on the chat what inclusive pedagogy means to you. We can interact in the chat as we wait for the panelists to start. So what are some of the inclusive pedagogical practices that you are familiar with, or or you practice in your school? Because we can agree that inclusion is one of the main issues facing our education systems. So you can write on the chat any pedagogical practices that you are familiar with. And then we jump right into the conversation. The first panelist, as you can see on the screen, we have Melvin Akinyi, who is an experienced educator with 20 years of diverse roles, including classroom teaching, learning support, coordination, and she's also a reading specialist coach. She is a special needs educator, an educational psychologist, and she has worked extensively in K-8 educational settings, supporting various curriculum implementations. Her role focuses on special needs and limitless educational opportunities.
Joel, we are waiting for you.
Mel,
Hi.
Melvin, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, we also have Robin. Robin specializes in dyscalculia, dyslexia, and mathematics education, bringing expertise as a registered psychological assessor and access arrangement specialist. He is primarily based at St. Andrew's Tourist School, and he combines in-person and online consultancy while focusing on inclusive pedagogies.
Mr. Robin, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good
Mr.
evening,
Robin,
everybody.
can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad to be joining you from Nairobi today. And yeah, just as I have been introduced, I'm based at St. Andrew's Story. Probably just something that has not been mentioned is to say that I have a degree in special education needs from Athena University, MED from University of Nairobi Measurement and Evaluation, Level 7 qualification from Middlesex University, and yeah, also in dyslexia and calculia qualification from Dyslexia Action UK. Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be joining you.
Thank you so much, Robin. We are glad to have you.
Switch your microphone on.
Another panelist is Mr. Sagao. Mr. Sagao is a distinguished educator with over 10 years of teaching and leadership experience, specializing in mathematics and physics. As a Dean of Learning and Instruction and Director of Teaching and Learning for both local and American curricula, he has nurtured extensive expertise in instructional and curriculum leadership. He is dedicated to coaching teachers on 21st century pedagogical approaches, guided by the belief that effective learning is akin to gently falling snow that sinks deeper with softness. Wow. Mr. Sagao, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here.
Good evening.
Yes, the introduction has done justice to what I would have said in terms of my introduction. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I look forward to sharing and also learning from this amazing team. We'll get to know each other as we move along. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you. Mr. Kahindi, next, please. Our other panelist is Perpetua. She has a strong dedication to inclusive pedagogies. She is passionate and selfless. She is a passionate and selfless special needs teacher, known for fostering welcoming and inclusive environments. As a learning consultant, counselor, and speech stimulator, her commitment to empowering diverse learners for success is exemplified by her mantra. Hi, Perpetua, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Aquilina. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. As you have heard, my name Perpetua Onyala. I am a special needs teacher, currently based at Rusinga School. The only detail I can add about myself is I pursued degree in Bachelor of Special Needs Education at Maseno University, and I'm currently pursuing postgraduate studies in learning disabilities at Kenyatta University. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Perpetua. So those are our panelists for today. You can now grab your coffee, a pen, and a notebook because we are now getting started. Thank you for your contributions on the chat. I can just read through few of them. I'll not be able to read all of them. Abdi says digital literacy. Joel says use of simple language. Peter Gikonyo says inquiry-based learning. Kerry Ann says flipped classroom, 21st century design. Harriet says group work. Julia says project work. Damaris peer teaching. Isaiah multisensory learning. Damaris discussion. Nancy UDL inquiry based. Thank you for the contributions. Now we move to our agenda for the day. Our first question was, how can educators strike a balance maintaining academic rigor and ensuring inclusivity in the classroom? What strategies or practices have you? What practices or strategies are effective in achieving this balance across diverse student needs and learning styles? So Robin will be taking us through that. Each panelist will have 3 minutes, and then we will have a Q&A question session. So if you have a question, you can ask it then. So Robin, please take it over.
Thank you very much, Aquilina, and I'm glad to be sharing this with other professionals. I know you guys have a lot of information. You could actually do the sharing and I listening instead. Looking at the audience, we have people from all over Africa. I've seen audience from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Tanzania. I'm not sure I've seen another country, from Rwanda. I think I've seen someone from Rwanda. And that means we are coming from very diverse educational systems. And we'd like to hear what you guys are doing from wherever you are. I might be a little bit skewed towards more of international school practice, but I will try to think about the Kenyan education system and the things that they are doing. Now, one of the things, even when we are training teachers in our own school, personally, when I'm sharing teaching pedagogy, differentiation activities, there's always a question: how do you balance between taking care of all the needs in the classroom and actually also finishing the syllabus? And I think that question is very related to that. But I'd like to say that from research, and I've seen someone mention multisensory learning, strategies that work for SEN pupils or pupils whose English is not their first language, their second or third language, we call them EAL, or disabilities. I mean, strategies that work for them also actually work for those without special needs. They do work. For example, when you make your classes very dyslexia friendly, that means everything is labeled, everything is in place where they can easily go and get. When you teach, when you empower them to get organized, those skills will also help those without dyslexia. When you make sure we are printing materials on you're printing materials on off-white paper to help those with who experience visual stress, those materials are even more friendly to non-disabled people or those without special needs. And like to say, it's very important in every classroom to think about your students, thinking about your groupings. And this is about actually trying to understand your learners as individuals. That means if you understand your groupings, then you know how to put those groups in various workstations. For example, this workstation where we place the highly gifted and able learners of that workstation that I know that as students whose language is not, English is not their first language, of this station where I have learners who have special needs or who have dyslexia or something like that, and they need a lot of support with working memory. Definitely, when you think along those sides, then you know which learners can work independently. And therefore, you just give them a short introduction and let them continue. Or you can even give short introduction from the front of the class and let groups work. So you as a teacher, assuming you are alone in the classroom, then spend a lot more time with those that need that support more. If you are lucky to have another adult in the classroom, then you can share that work. So it's really, really important to think about your groupings, to think about the class that you have, relationships that you build, actually help you to understand the learners that you are teaching in a class. Making sure that actually students understand what the expectations are is very crucial. And this doesn't matter. This doesn't affect the pace of the syllabus. It goes very well with the syllabus. If I'm teaching, for example, an exam class, do the students know the grades they are working towards? Do the students know those that are working towards A grade actually know that? Do they know where they are at the moment in terms of their learning journey? Those working towards a B, do they know where they are? And how did you know what they are working towards? For those with schools that have resources, you realize you have cognitive ability testing. I will not have time to talk so much about it, but it's something that I'm qualifying to do. Cognitive ability testing is testing of the potential to learn, and that can help. And of course, we have achievement tests that you can also, that based on this child's performance over a period of time, can also help you to predict his ability or her ability in a classroom. So when students understand what the expectations are, even when you're giving assignment, have they looked at the, do you have a marking rubric that every child can actually interact with and know that in this writing piece, this is the marking criteria, this is what will be used to mark my work. Have I included punctuation marks? Have I included that? Have I included this other one? And this works for everybody, not just students with special needs, but all students, when they actually get to understand what the expectations are, they work better. And the other thing I'd like to mention is just teaching students to understand. There's something we call relational understanding, and there's something else we call instrumental understanding. A lot of time we tend to focus on instrumental understanding. Instrumental understanding is a situation where you present rules or methods or procedures in a logical sequence, and students have to follow them without necessarily understanding why it's the way it is. So those students, mostly they will rote learn stuff. They will show you what you told them to show, but actually they have no proper understanding of what it is. And we know a lot of students with weak working memory cannot actually follow those procedures the way they are. They can't retain them in memory. So what do? You need to actually now focus on what we call relational understanding. This is actually to do with understanding, the deep understanding of the structure, the relationships, the learning material. For example, when you say 8 times 6 is 48, it's easier. I mean, a lot of teachers will say you just have to memorize it. But why have you used arrays? I use these to see how those numbers are connected, how they're related. Can they connect 8 as a 6 and a 2? Because we are doing 6 times 8. Can they see another 6 inside the 8? So when they can actually understand the structure and the learning, then they can actually utilize the long-term memory to actually learn. And this will help everybody, not just those without SEN. And the other thing, if we understand our students, does your school allow, or does your system allow situations where you can provide access arrangements? For example, if we have students who are not getting the grades they deserve because they have a slower processing speed, for example, they can't process information as quick as everybody else. So when you give them a test, yes, they'll get the first questions, most questions, the question they have attempted right, but they actually have not achieved their potential because they have slow processing. This your system allow them to actually apply for some additional time. And that way you even lift the grades of the school. So for me, it's never an excuse for not teaching everybody in the name of syllabus. In fact, high quality teaching will develop everybody, will help everybody to achieve the best they can, their personal best. We're not saying we need everybody getting A's. We're not saying everybody needs to get B's or A stars. We're simply saying we need everybody to achieve their very personal best. And finally, the role of the thumb, because I know my time is up, right? I can say more, but I'd like to start to end with
yes,
rule,
kindly wind up.
Yes, one rule of the thumb, that we have to assure our students that they can achieve it. We must induce anxiety in our learners, whether with special needs or not, and increase confidence by actually recognizing and praising little achievements in our teaching. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robin. As educators, it's really important to be cognizant of learner characteristics, just as Robin pointed out, so that we are able to accommodate everyone. Thank you, Robin, for the presentation. We move to our next panelist, who is Perpetua. And the question is, inclusive education aims to address the diverse needs of all students, including those with disabilities. So, Perpetua, could you kindly share examples of successful interventions or approaches that you've encountered that have effectively supported students with special educational needs within the mainstream classroom setting? Kindly take it away, Perpetua.
Thank you, Aquilina, for the question. And I'm going to discuss it further on some of the successes I've encountered as a special needs teacher in inclusive classroom, support learners with special needs. And one of them, I must say, is the use of
Please unmute.
Sorry for that. Thank you, Aquilina, for the question. I'm going to share some of the successful stories, a few of the successful stories that I've employed in inclusive setup and they've worked for me. One of it is the positive behavior model. In each and every given class, right from the first session or the first lesson, I've realized that as a teacher, if you create first a supportive environment whereby it's just accommodating, it is just warm, whereby everyone is okay with who or with his or her diversity, strength, and no one is supposed to make fun of one another. I've realized that for sure, it helps all learners, inclusive of those learners with special needs, to be able to excel, to try to even prove harder that they can even achieve. So that aspect of creating a supportive, a warm environment, a very accommodative environment that accepts the unique diversity of learners. I've seen it has worked. Another thing I've seen that has actually worked for me is the use of rewards, whereby you explain to learners the objective for the lesson. First, you have to explain clearly the objective of that given lesson. And whenever any child exhibits an attempt, having in mind you have learners of different abilities. The high achievers, you also set their target to be higher. We have the where we can say maybe the average and even those who are struggling. So even for this learner with learning disability, if he or she manages to achieve, even if it's just one accomplishment, or even just staying to task, maybe it's a child who is easily distracted and has managed to focus for some time, you acknowledge the child by rewarding the child. It could be through verbal input. It could be through maybe a token so that later on that the child can use that token to get some benefit for himself or herself. Also using of things like contingency contract, whereby you agree from the word go, you agree with the learners that if they want to do something, if something maybe that they like, let's say playing outside, the learner has to accomplish or to finish a certain task, let's say a written task. So the learner will endeavor to finish that task as per your agreement so that you may give him or her that chance to go outside. When you employ these, maybe your focus was on a child with special needs, but you'll realize if you use this strategy, it will not only help the learner with special needs, but it also goes a long way to help even the other peers, and they'll be looking forward to even do better so that they may also get rewards in their own way. So that aspect of reward, I've seen it is also working very well, and it helps in taming behavior in the classroom. And ultimately, it also helps in the part of achievement in terms of academic. The child will be looking forward to your lesson, looking forward to finish the task, because he or she knows that by the end of the day or by the end of the week, there is something for him or her. I don't know if I still have time, Aquilina.
You have
okay.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay. The other strategy that I've used and I've seen it's working very well is the use of task analysis, whereby in every given constituent you break it into manageable tasks so that those who are high ability learners can move with that pace. For instance, if it's, let's say, a writing task, narrative writing, because I teach literacy, if it's narrative task, you can break it into even 3 aspects so that for those who are high achievers, they can do it after you have taught, they can just do it. But there are those learners who may need even a writing template, a starter. You start with them, you model for them. When they manage, you move to the next level. When they manage, you move to the next level, up to the part they can be able to write all that story without the support. So by the end of the day, this learner with special needs will have managed to achieve the objective, and he or she will not be frustrated. Task analysis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Perpetua. That is Perpetua Nyala from Rusinga Schools, Nairobi. She's speaking with regards to this amazing topic on... Please, if you can mute your mic, please.
Very clear,
Bro, come on, please. Rose, thank you. Thank you. I was saying that Perpetua Onyala from Rusinga Schools, Nairobi, speaking passionately about what she does best on matters to do with supporting learners with, certain challenges, special needs, and also in the context where they are found together. I'm working back to back with Aquilina here. We are looking at the inclusive strategies on which we can use to support students with disabilities or differently abled. And Perpetua there shared mainly on, the examples that she has used, including task analysis, acknowledgement of the students, and aspects to do with contingency contract, positive reinforcement, and many more that the members in the community or in the meeting are sharing on the chat. Stay tuned on the chat because this is where we begin. They say before the 4 C's, communication, collaboration, what else by the way? Critical thinking, and I forgot the 4th one. The first one which existed from the beginning was connection. And that's why Kerian, my friend from SA, tech teacher, speaks about relationships being core. We move to the third panelist, and here we're looking at Miss Melvin Akinyi. Miss Melvin, we are wondering from you, what is your place on matters to do with cultural competence, diversity awareness, and matters to do with inclusive pedagogies? We are asking you, how can educators, you and I, and the others in the meeting, infuse culturally responsive pedagogies, culturally relevant content, perspectives into their teaching methods, while fostering an environment that respects and celebrates cultural differences among our students? I say that because I did say from the beginning, the global movement is happening, and students from all sets of life are in our classrooms. How do we ensure there is this balance? Melvin, it's your moment to shine.
Once more, allow me to just say hello to everyone in the meeting and thank you for joining this noble cause. Thank you, Mr. Felix, and thank you, Aquilina. And to all the other panelists, thank you and welcome to this. So I'm going to talk about culturally responsive teaching and give examples, strategies, and activities that will just guide us towards success. So in my short 3 minutes, I'll be able maybe to cover what is culturally responsive teaching. And then we also have condition for creating a culturally responsive classroom, and also just culturally responsive teaching strategies and maybe some examples. I will begin by quoting that no single approach will engage each student at once, but building a strategy to consistently deliver culturally responsive teaching lessons will help you appeal to the students or to the diverse learners within your classroom and that have different backgrounds. So as I continue by saying that no single teaching method. So as we are here, we know that as teachers, we have the various teaching methods that we use so that we are able to just deliver the curriculum to the students, including the students with special needs education. So I'll just take you back to just understand what inclusivity means. Inclusivity is a situation where you allow children, students from diverse, considering their strengths academically and also social backgrounds, to a one mainstream school and servicing them with the needs that they have within that same school. And then now I will go to some methods. methods that we can use for these students within the mainstream classroom, because that is what inclusion is all about. So I'll just quote what one of the panelists says, that rooted in differentiated instruction principles, culturally responsive pedagogy aims to link content. So when we talk about this aim to link content, it means that we are bringing up every other learning skills that we have into the classroom to just enable these students be able to go through the curriculum, and we synthesize the curriculum using that. And then we also check from delivery to assessment to ancestral backgrounds of the students that we have within our classroom. So once we incorporate all that, when we're doing assessments, have we checked on the cultural background of our students? Where are they coming from? Because I'll be more inclined towards international schools, but I also have worked with public schools. Do we, by any chance, check where are our students coming from in this line? And then now to the argument, understanding responsiveness of the students within your classroom, considering the cultural backgrounds that they have, or what are we bringing into inclusion, considering that argument that we are having today in this panel. So by empowering those students to share thoughts, this will enable them have an easier time connecting with you as a teacher or as an educationist within. Once they get that comfort, you'll be able to learn them and then incorporate different methods to work with specific students, considering their individual abilities, and then also integrating diverse work and study practices. This will enable you as a teacher to know that maybe when you're doing something like religious studies, you consider that you have different backgrounds within your classroom, so that you're not inclined, let's say you're a Christian, you're not inclined towards Christianity, yet all these religions have shared practices. And then also understanding student learning needs and styles within your classroom. I believe when looking at this, and as I've mentioned before, considering that we have students from different backgrounds. So you need to understand your students as an individual, their learning style, their needs. And this is assessment that you have to do for all your students, be it they have SNE or not, by the time that they are joining your class. Your assessment should be able to relate and to give you a way forward on how to work with your students. And then also emulating culturally significant instructions and styles, such as oral storytelling. You can borrow stories from different cultures to just bring them into the classroom so that every child feels connected to their cultural background. I think that one forms a lot of cooperation within the classroom, that a child feels more inclined to where they come from. So if you bring it into the classroom, they are able to understand, they're able to connect and feel warm within the classroom. And that opens the child to a state where you are able now to deliver the curriculum as it's needed. And we also say to also help all this above that I've mentioned, also help you plan and deliver lessons that resonate with a diverse classroom. So as we always use a term called internationalism. Internationalism does not only relate to students within your classroom or students from different cultures internationally. Also, we have 40-something tribes within our country. So when you bring the internationalism within your classroom, you should be able to, like Melvin Akinyi, I might be inclined towards the Lake region, and then I forget the Central. So being a teacher, we encourage that you should be able to have hands-on cultural feeling of all the cultures within your country, or even the cultures within your classroom, so that you're able to connect with the children in that setup. And then I will also go back to what is culturally responsive teaching. So that's a big question that we also really want to look at. What do we mean when we say culturally responsive teaching? I would say that, I would quote it, culturally responsive teaching is a pedagogy that acknowledges and embraces students' cultures, languages, and experiences. So from that, and it also relates to, now that is where now teachers relates it to classroom teaching and learning. So when we look at this culturally responsiveness, I want to look at it at when you are a teacher. So the culturally responsive teachers are actually aware of the various cultural backgrounds present in their classroom, and they're able to act as a facilitator for their children and for those who have entrusted us with their children. So quick, I'll just move out to some methods that we can use to incorporate the same within our classroom. So what are these conditions? First, I'll just start with just establish inclusion within your classroom. And as I stated before, what is inclusion? Is just, I would just say it's the word that holistic relation within the classroom. Holistic means you're incorporating, this starts by highlighting how the topic you're teaching may relate or apply to students. For example, many societies and cultures have fireworks festivals. How is it relating within your classroom? Are you bringing the Hindus into consideration? Are you bringing the Christians? Are you bringing children from all backgrounds, those who've never experienced fireworks? How are you relating it within the classroom? If I related to one culture this time, next time I will relate to the next culture. And then also developing positive attitude within your classroom for your students to be able to respect and be able to gel and respect different cultural backgrounds within your classroom. Once you do this, no child will shy off from speaking out from whichever cultural setup or background that they have. The uniformity that you create within your classroom is really important. And then also we have something, enhanced meaning within your classroom. You can bolster a lesson by drawing connections with real world issues, asking students to use opinions and existing knowledge to address them. Yes, so when you use that, they're able to relate their everyday life experiences to the classroom. This is really a plus to most students that have SNE, our special students. When you relate to what they know, definitely you will be making a plus within the classroom. And then also foster confidence. As a teacher, I've learned that without confidence within your classroom, then your students are not getting anything. The moment you implant this in your students, that they're able to express their feelings within the classroom, then you are adding a plus. You're building confident individuals who by the end of the academic period, they're able to survive in the outside world. So before you do anything, just make sure all your students within your classroom are within that confidence structure, that they're able to express themselves confidently out here. So I'll just mention some, like a panelist had mentioned, learn about your students, know where they're coming from. I mentioned that. At the start of the year or semester, demonstrating a desire to know your students is really key. So that is when you will even know those who understand their backgrounds, those who understand their cultural fits and the like, so that you're able to guide and hold them just within your hands. And then also interview your students so that you're able also to just understand them. All these things we are doing for the benefit of the child within your classroom. As an educator, once you have all your students within your arm, you're able to plan well and just deliver as required. And then also there's something within the mathematics that I say, when you integrate relevant word problems, children connect when you use their name in a word problem. So even if you had a word problem that is talking about Stefan, you can decide to change it that Melvin does this. You will be able to even grasp concentration of some of these students. And then also present new concepts by using student vocabulary. If you know what they like, and we always say, if we can just twist cartoon into our lessons and just use some of those names and words, the vocabulary that they understand, I think their interests will be brought into the classroom. And then also bring guest speaker. This time I bring maybe Father Joseph. Next time I bring an imam from the mosque, next time I go to the Hindu temple, you know, this makes the children to connect and understand their world better, because we are also building students who will be out there meeting different cultures. So at least they'll have a base from where they've started with, and also deliver different forms of content through learning stations. You can, you know, we do the trips, take the children to where they are able to hold these things hands-on. I know my time is moving, and then what I mean by the stations, you can also decide that you're creating artwork, watching a video, reading an article, listening to you teach, or somebody else from the next classroom teach, really creates an interesting view for the students. Also, just decide to do gamifying lessons. Go tech, just decide that this time we want to learn through the tech. I know students really love such. And then also, as my other panelist had said, offer rewards. Even adults appreciate rewards. So when you do some of these things, they appreciate it. Also, there's something else. Call a student by their name. Even for the adults, we really like, if you called me Melvin, it's your turn, rather than it's you. So just call them by their names. It encourages them. And then it also makes them respond to you. You can even go a further step of just calling them by their culturally diverse names. They love it. It's something that we want to instill in our students so that they're able to personalize themselves. They're able to feel themselves in this learning world. Do I still have some minutes to continue with my point?
Ms. Melvin, you are burning with passion. Please stop it, because we're gonna get banned. Please just stop it at that, because it's so exciting, and you know you can't stop. Let's just stop you for that, because you need to share all that with us at the end of this, because we need everything. But in the interest of time, please, Aquilina. Thank you, Ms. Melvin.
Thank you very much, Felix.
Ms. Aquilina, your mic is off. Thank you, Ms. Melvin.
Thank you so much, Ms. Melvin, for the presentation. It's very important, just as you mentioned, to change attitude as educators, because most of the time we have this, like you have some attitude towards some background, you're like, people from this background are like this, and so you do not, like, you just develop a negative attitude towards them. So as educators, it's important to change our attitudes towards different cultures and just accommodate everyone. Thank you so much, Melvin. We move to our next panelist, who is Mr. Sagao. Mr. Sagao, we would love to hear from you. How collaborative and cooperative learning strategies can be optimized to promote a sense of belonging and engagement among students from different backgrounds and abilities. Mr. Sagao, please.
Mr. Sagao seems to have dropped. It happens sometimes. Mr. Sagao, if you're here, please confirm.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just saying, I think I had been removed from the meeting a little bit, so I missed the first part of the question. I was to speak about ICT, right?
Not quite. I think it's something else. Ms. Aquilina, please confirm.
Collaborative learning, collaborative and cooperative learning.
Sorry, Aquila, could you just read the whole, for me, just the whole question again, kindly?
Could you kindly provide insights on how collaborative and cooperative learning strategies can be optimized to promote a sense of belonging and engagement among students from different backgrounds and abilities?
All right, thank you. All right, thank you for that question. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm speaking from Nairobi. For those who are not in Nairobi or are coming from other countries, my name is Sagao, and I'm really glad to be here and to share with us some tenets on the question that has been brought forward. So in terms of collaboration, I think one of the, I'll speak on one aspect that has really worked well in terms of collaboration, and it's in terms of incorporating ICT to ensure that you cover more ground, when you are teaching in class or even when you're preparing for lessons. So one of the things that I would like to talk about is using data. Using data. Hello, I think I'm being distracted by something.
Sorry, Mr. Sagao, people please ensure we are on mute so that we can really read from this. Thank you. Sagao, please proceed.
All right. Thank you. So in terms of that, I think data is very important. Data, I always say when you rely on data, it's more accurate when you want to do, let's say, for example, collaboration.
Seem to be having a hitch there. Mr. Joel, please, you can do some administrative tasks so that the meeting is a bit coordinated. Mr. Sagao, I think he's having a challenge or he's been dropped. Mr. Joel, please check on that. As Mr. Joel does that, Mr. Sagao, can you confirm you're back? All right, we had Mr. Sagao there speaking into data and data insights, seeing what is possible with data and data analytics in form of integration of technology in teaching and learning. So to support learners with this aspect, but also maybe to add, and as I move to the next question, in the interest of time, I think you'll be able to share more so that we can be able to proceed. We have aspects to do with also, pulling students together by using technology platforms to get the students, pulling together from time to time. As we get that fixed, I will move to the next question, and this is directed to Mr. Robin. Mr. Robin, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Yes, please, would you tell us, again, within that context of technology, we are told technology has the potential to enhance accessibility, engagement in inclusive learning. They talk about multiple representation in UDL. We are asking you, how do you see digital tools and platforms contributing to the implementation of the universal design for learning principles? And could you kindly highlight any specific examples of technology integration that cater in your context to support diverse learning needs? Mr. Robin, time to shine.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Felix. Yeah, I'll contribute briefly about the use of technology and share examples of what I found working. And say one of the things that technology does, especially those who have access to interactive whiteboards, or that smart boards, as we like to call them, or they have their computers, but inbuilt content and stuff like that. Those platforms really encourage participation and give real experience to students. And when they do them, because they can touch them, they can feel them, they can interact with them, move around, really to capture the attention of even those who are very highly distracted, like the ADHD students and all that. The other thing is we have students, because of their difficulties with writing or copying from their phone and stuff like that, they just have iPads or tablets. They just take pictures of notes that are given. They can organize their knowledge in them. They can create mind maps. They can create flow charts because they can create cycles, and those really help them to learn the best way they can learn, because they will find trouble trying to handwrite notes. They will find trouble trying to read notes and do all those things. But when they use technology to put them in form of a mind map, organize graphic organizers and stuff like that, then it's very easy for all of them. It increases access to all the students. And at the beginning, I talked about groupings in the classroom. And one of the things that really work is to give a task and get the students to research. Give an example and let them see your exemplar, model what they need to learn, then get them use this technology to research and make their own presentations. And the presentations can be different forms. They can make cartoons using technology. They can create PowerPoints. There are different ways in which they can actually make their presentations. That is very useful. And this increases IT technology. Will have an element of visual. We'll have an element of kinesthetic. Of course, there's audio part to it. For example, you have a PowerPoint, and then there's a video that supports it, and the students can see, they can interact. So that means it's actually multisensory in itself, because it takes into account the kinesthetic learners, the audio learners, the visual learners, all of them, they are taken care of by technology. And it's really important. And the other thing I find is students, actually that content, you can share it out, because many students probably missed what you said, didn't capture all the information. You can share that information with them and they can refer to it later, or you can save it and you can use it for review of what they learned previously. And it's a very nice way to get them to remember and reflect on what they learned. The other thing is students using their own iPads and tablets can actually record. They can record their own presentation. They can record themselves and play back. Those students with maybe spelling problems or speech problems, they can listen to some playback and help them to learn, help them to improve on what they're trying to learn. This platform that we're using, that's Microsoft Teams. There's a page called collaboration page that, especially during the online learning, during the COVID-19, I mean, we'll have all the students from their homes, interact on that collaboration page. There's a task there, you put them into groups and they can all contribute, and you can see in real time them contributing to that. Also, there's something I'm really passionate about, that's access arrangements. Access arrangements, it's all technology these days. It's nearly all technology. Readers. These days of computer readers, we used to have human readers reading for students in assessments, exams, but they are computer readers these days, and students practice them even during their lessons. There's speech to text for students with difficulties with the handwriting. They can actually speak and the computer will just write. So that promotes access, and there's no delay, because instead of slow and labored handwriting, they just talk, which means they're actually coping fine with the lesson. So if they make use of the speech to text and even vice versa, text to speech, they can do all that. Modifying the environment. We know that there's students who struggle with reading black on white. A paper usually in black with white with black writing. Some people experience visual stress. Some people will yawn and tear when they're trying to read those. But with technology, especially even here on Teams, if you're using a page over here, you can change it into different colors. You can change it into blue, you can change it to gray, and that actually increases the ability of the students to read that content. So it's really useful. And even some students type notes, just type, not handwriting. They can just type notes, and they can also type the exams instead of handwriting. And that increases access to everybody. So we have students handwriting, the others typing, the others using speech to text, and everybody is learning, and that increases access to learning. I think I've spent my 3 minutes. Thank you, Felix, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robin. They are speaking passionately about multiple methods of expression. If you check what Kerian is sharing on the chat, there is a lot to do with multiple ways of expression. That is Microsoft Flip, previously called Flipgrid. We have Immersive Reader for for reading, and also dictation from Microsoft, helping learners with what Mr. Robin was sharing. So keep sharing on the chat, keep looking at what is happening, and let's see how this goes. Mr. Sagao is back. Mr. Sagao, oh, your time, man, has been so much spent. Members, we are time spent. We're going to see if we can conclude in the shortest time possible, because this is getting greasy. Mr. Sagao, a moment for you. Cleaner, get ready for the next speaker, please.
All right, thank you. Apologies for the mix-up, ladies and gentlemen. So I was talking about data. Of course, there are so many aspects about collaboration, but I wanted to take it off from data-driven, kind of collaboration. So there is two, from why I'm saying there's two ways in which you can approach data: the soft part of data and the hard part of data. I think most of the time we look at the hard part, where we look at numbers and then we put students maybe into groups based on numbers. But there's also the other aspect of data, which is like soft data. And those abilities go a long way in terms of even looking for special needs or special abilities, students who are like, talented in different ways, away from just looking at the numbers. So when you use data and, to put students into groups, it also depends on what you want to achieve. Do you want to come up with homogeneous sort of groups, or do you want to come up with heterogeneous sort of groups? Do you want to have a group that is mixed up with the students who are like high ability, with those who are like in the lower quartile and the middle quartile and all that, or you want to stretch students who are just in the upper ability? So what you need is actually data. I know sometimes we use the picky ponky, or we sometimes also just say students to pick 1, 2, 3, and then all the ones goes into one group, all the twos and all that. That is fine, depending on what we want to achieve. But data really informs more reliable way of grouping students, so that you can have a more meaningful, collaboration in class. So it's very important as a teacher, like I think one of the panelists mentioned, for you to know your students, not just by the numbers, not just by the grades, but also by their abilities in terms of how they learn. Which ways do they learn? Because you can put students in the same group and maybe all of them are, let's say, introverts. You can put students in one group and all of them are extroverts. You can put students in one group and all of them maybe are very good in IT, or they don't have, interest in IT. So you might end up having a group that is not really working for the benefit of the learners, and at the end of the day, the goal might not be achieved. So for me, I think data is very, very important when you are coming up with, groups, for students to collaborate or to undertake a certain task. So while I'm on that, I think I've mentioned about heterogeneous groups and homogeneous groups, but that does not mean that is always the case in a classroom. It always depends on the activity. But when you use ICT, or use, let's say, IT in terms of coming up with the groups, it is more reliable and more accurate because you will actually put learners in a more objective groups than rather than subjective groups. That is what I had to share, Felix. Because of time and you have guided me, I'll stop there unless there is a specific question towards this. Back to you, Felix.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sagao. We now move to, in the interest of time, we move to the next presenter. And the question is directed to Perpetua. How can educators establish meaningful partnerships with parents, families, and community members to support the learning journey of all students? What strategies have you seen or implemented that bridge the gap between the school and home environment effectively? Perpetua, kindly share with us.
Thank you, Aquilina. In the interest of time, I'll try to be as brief as possible. But allow me first to just put one point across on the issue of technology. that from experience, I just wanted to say that we can also use certain platforms. For instance, in Rusinga Prep School, we have Scholastic Learning Zone. It's an IT platform and education city. The importance of these platforms is, apart from giving tasks to the children, it also has read aloud features like the ebooks, whereby learners are able to read the books online and at the same time listen to them. So it at least it attends to their various needs. And the last thing on that I wanted to say is through these platforms, we are able to we get to know the evidence on their areas of need, the specific areas. So it helps the child, this teacher, to prepare lessons specifically to target the areas of need. If, for example, it could be in the area of author's craft, which is in English, if it's inferring, the specific area that the child is struggling with, the teacher can be able to track by use of technology and thereby craft the lesson accordingly. Now, to the question you have asked me on how we can collaborate with parents in supporting inclusive education. One thing that has worked for me, and I must just commend it, is the use of collaboration with parents. So parents play a very important role in the children's education and even in their lives. And when you involve them from the word go, they help in a very big way. You will even realize as a teacher, you won't have to struggle because you have open communication with them from time to time. And parents on their part, when they know their responsibility, which could be in terms of just creating a supportive, a conducive environment at home, following up on homework or assignment that the child has been given, providing also routine, because we know most learners with special needs, they somehow they may get confused, they may not know what next. So in order to assist in that, parents can help at home by creating rules, constructing rules, constructing routines that have to be followed, and by just working with their child from time to time. And at times, even working with, as they work with the child, they try to explain by demystification, trying to explain to the given child the areas of strength, the areas of need, and even how they can overcome that. So when you involve the parents from the word go, and then it's consistent, it's not just a one-time thing, it is consistent, and you guide them. Sometimes they may not know even what to do. You just guide them. You will realize the outcome will just be good, be it in terms of behavior, be it in terms of education. And lastly, in terms of, and another thing that parents can also play a very important role in the education of the children is by participating in the education, by creating the IEPs, by advocating for their rights, by taking part in school programs, whereby if there is an activity that is taking part in school and their child is taking part in it, you can invite the parents to come, they can volunteer, they can offer mentorship to these children. And so by so doing, it will make all stakeholders, be it parents, be it teachers, and even the child, will know that the parent is actively involved in his or her learning process. And therefore, the child will make a positive impact in all angles of his or her educational journey. Thank you.
That is Perpetua spitting knowledge and wisdom and experience from many years of experience in this practice. You know, there is so much to say, my people. But Ms. Melvin, do you have 1 or 2 points, please, to cap it up on parent engagement?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Felix. Thank you, Perpetua. So maybe these ones, I'll just put them in point form, which as teachers, educators, we can synthesize. So I will say first, maybe having families as activists. When you use frequently families as such a beautiful channel, when you want to put information out there. And then also, you can also use the same families as contributors to inclusive education. Once you empower them with the knowledge, they're able to go out there and, word of mouth spreads faster and will be able to reach a vast population. And also schools, families, and communities as partners. When we partner together, join into their functions, connections, and just be able to get opportunities to share this beautiful word with them. That's also another area that we can use. When you partner with them, then you secure yourself as an educationist. And then also families supporting families. Once you've walked a journey with the family, they're able to talk also. At times, the relation, when they relate it physically to each other, you realize that it works best. So those are some of the areas, Mr. Felix. And I must say, also research has had it that families are the best. You know, when you partner with the community and families, they're the best people who can put you out there and can put the information that we are here today discussing. Thank you, Mr. Felix.
Thank you. Thank you. That is Ms. Melvin again, dropping those points there for us. We will be exploring more of that, and these notes will be coming to you after I've talked to the panelists and they package them together. Mr. Cleaner leading us in that moderation. Mr. Cleaner, what do you say as we bring some Q&A? Mr. Cleaner?
We have not handled the last question, which was supposed to be handled by Mr. Sagao on AI.
I think he was able to combine that with the collaborative and cooperative learning. Mrs. Sagao, do you want to say something? All right, he has been having some challenges there. Just that is on AI. Maybe we can ask someone from the community to also contribute on that. If you can raise your hand. I see Cecilia and Millicent had shared, raised their hands first, but anyone who can say something about AI. Where do we sit at the place of AI?
Hello,
Sagao. Yes,
yeah.
Mr. Sagao.
Yeah, I was saying there was quite a lot I wanted to speak about ICT and AI, but I just summarize it in a point form, like I think one of the panelists did. I think AI is very important. AI is just a way of, stimulating human intelligence in a more, technological way. But that does not mean we are, as educators, we are, subtracted from the whole equation of, teaching and learning. So AI, its own advantages and disadvantages, but whatever we are talking about in terms of ICT, AI is helping us create those machines, helping us, teach or other learners use to learn. So in terms of artificial intelligence, I would say we have to use it sparingly. It is very good for us to use AI. It makes things more reliable, more efficient, more simplified, because when you use machine, some things you would have covered in a week, you might cover it in a day, and then it gives you time to do other things. And I think the most important thing for me when AI helps me or helps an educator to become more efficient, there is that time created for you to connect more with the students on an emotional level, on a personal level, because I believe also learners, they learn more when they feel that you care more, So that time that would have spent in, collecting data manually, that time that would have spent in analyzing and presenting or preparing for lessons and all that, AI help you, do that very quickly. Of course, there is that aspect of context where you cannot just rely on AI to create content based on a certain concept. Context is also very important. So we have to be very cognizant of that. As educators, let us employ AI, but the context should be as prompted by the educator. What I mean by that is, let's say, for example, an educator is creating a lesson for students who are from a different background that AI might not be able to do to recognize. So you as an educator, you can go ahead and prompt AI with very, very specific, concepts or other contexts, so that whatever AI gives or generates is actually it's making connection with the context of the learners. So that is what I would say in terms of using AI. But I would also add, like, there are so many dangers and challenges of using AI without being mindful, or without being using it unsparingly. So it's very, very important we also recognize that, so that at the end of the day, we don't like misuse or abuse AI, because it can get to a point where we now delegate the duty of a teacher to artificial intelligence or to ICT, and then we subtract ourselves from the equation, which loses the whole meaning of a teacher present in the learning and teaching process. Yes.
Thank you. That's Mr. Sagao, and AI. Just last week, we looked at various opportunities availed by AI across educational settings. and Mr. Sagao caps it there with a breakdown of what it is that we can also leverage on. Thank you, sir, for that kind of guidance and clarity. My friends, my fellow citizens of Africa, we are in a space, and of course outside Africa, we are in a space where we are constrained because of time. I'd like to pick two questions for the speakers. Mr. Anthony, Tony, is it advisable, asks, is it advisable for teachers to integrate AI in education? Is it advisable? And I think that question was answered by Mr. Sagao in last week's session. Yes, we are able to do so. We should be able to integrate AI in education, but in the specific areas that Mr. Sagao spoke to, but also we will be sharing a link on what the other session that focused on AI that can also guide us on this one, Mr. Tony from Nigeria. I'm going to ask for any question. Ms. Caro, did you want to say something before we proceed?
Yes,
Please
thank
proceed.
you very much. First of all, kindly ask somebody there called Kenneth to mute his video. We are seeing his whole bedtime routine, number one. Number two, my question is to Melvin. How do you deal with parents in denial? It is clear that the children have a learning need, but the parents are deeply in denial. How do you deal with them? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Melvin here back for the question. Thank you for asking that important question. When it comes to parents with special needs students, you'll agree with me that it's a journey. I must state it here that they have a long process for them to just reach the stage of understanding that, yes, my child has special needs. So we have strategies that we work with parents. For others, it takes a really long time. For others, it's manageable, though it's a journey that they walk throughout, more so when the struggles that the child has take a longer time before they are curbed, or maybe it is a way that it's a journey that they have to work with their child through their curriculum journey. So we have strategies, and first I would say what schools need to do, or special needs educators need to do, is to incorporate the parent in all the stages, in all the steps, and also to just look into what time am I telling a parent that, yes, your child has special needs. So we have a range of information that we can give the parent at the school level. And then we also have on the monitoring, because there are other skills that you really have to take into consideration before you give a parent an information that you think that the child has special needs. So professionally, we have professionals who are certified to do some kind of assessments. And then in that journey, we will be able also to evaluate if you as a teacher is going to tell the parent about special needs child that they have, or you're going to take it to your psychologist in those schools that they have that kind of service, or even if you're going to refer them to another stage where it's easier to send them to a specialist to assess their child. Unfortunately, when you're the classroom teacher, we have a range that we can do, but at one point we realize that it needs a more intense assessment. So what we do, we advise them in a professional way using the school procedures that are stipulated, so that they are able to go to a specialist who will be able to put that across to them. On the same note, once they come back from they will have already synthesized. Now you'll be able to discuss with them in an easier setting about their child and what you've discovered, and just make them feel that you understand their child and you're able to work with their child. You're able to provide the services that the child will need. Apart from that, these parents, that's why we have maybe counseling psychology, where the parent, you can advise the parent to just go. And also I mentioned something about family to family. If you have a family that has gone through it, and a parent is easier to talk to another parent to just try to relate the difficulties that they have. I must say here that it's a journey for the parent. For the educationists, because we have the skills to work with their students, we are also in that space where we can easily to the parents that you are able to take the child from one stage to the other. But I will still put it here that it's a journey and different parents act differently. Different parents come to terms with it at different pace. So as an educationist, you're the one who must really remain stable and ready to support the parents in in the journey that they are in. So I must say that the educationist must remain really neutral and really ready to serve the parent who has a child with special needs. For the parent, it's a journey. They reach it at different levels. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Melvin. Thank you, Caroline, for that question. My people, it is 9:35. Our scheduled time was 9:30. See, Mrs. Sagao wants to contribute. Flo and Millicent wants to ask a question. I don't know if there are other questions on the chat. I am going to request if we can close this at 9:40. If possible, let's do that. And so I'm going to go for Mr. Sagao. Did you want to say something in 30 seconds?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify something. I think someone had asked a question. I don't know if it passed me by, but I think the clarity was, yes, 100% AI is here with us. AI is not going anywhere. And just like any other progressive, way of looking at life, AI is here to stay with us. So the recommendation is we have to integrate AI in teaching. The only advice I would give as you do that, make sure you're specific about the prompts you are feeding into AI, so that even if they're generating PowerPoints, those PowerPoints are tailor-made to the needs of your learners, because AI might just come up with something generic, but it's now up to you to make it, produce something that is really, really tailored to the needs of your learners, because you are the one who knows, like the ability of your learners, the terrain of your classroom, the activities that you might engage them, in helping them understand the learning process of the learning materials. So it is just important for you to be very, very specific in your prompts when you're using AI. But yes, definitely, to avoid, lowering the level of thinking power in learners, and sometimes also even in educators. Even educators can actually be lazy sometimes, because AI can produce everything. We become lazy and we just use materials as we plug them from, AI. So we have to really be cognizant of that.
Thank you, Mr. Sagao. Speaking to the question on AI, Ms. Melvin, the question is, are you married to a Nigerian? Someone asked. No, she's married in Kenya. Oh, I don't know. She will tell us later on, or maybe on side chat. Ms. Florence, did you have a question, comment? Make it quick, my dear, please.
Thank you very much. So my question is to Mr. Robin. And I heard him talk about dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. Could he actually, maybe next time when we have a session like this, he could take us through this kind of difficulties in class? And I also wanted to know, when we talk about children, for example, who are dyslexic, and children who are who have these challenges, difficulties that you might not see on their faces, do we refer to them as children with special needs, or children with learning disabilities, or children with learning difficulties?
I would recommend Mr. Robin respond to the last one.
Yeah, thank you, Felix. Yes, so the general term is children with special needs. But of course, when you want to be more specific, you talk of specific learning difficulties or simple difficulty. You don't know which difficulty it is, but there's no harm. If you look at different kind of practice for different countries, for example, you can say they call it SEND, special education needs, and disability SEND. SEND standing for disability, then SEN standing for invisible disabilities, because the ones we are talking about are invisible. You can't tell them. So that's the key term. Yeah, we can look at them later. But quickly, there's a question, I think, for me on the chat, which is, when it comes to grouping, what's the best type of grouping according to ability? I'm assuming you're trying to ask different groups you can have in a classroom. Those actually depends with what topic you are teaching. But one of the things that I have to say as far as this is concerned is do not group highly gifted students and highly gifted students could some of them students with special needs with students who are not as gifted in that subject. The reason being, research shows it doesn't work trying to have a highly gifted child teaching non-gifted child in that subject. You'd rather they work better when they teach themselves, the gifted versus gifted. Otherwise, you slow them down, and their way of presentation will not benefit those that are not good in that particular subject. However, you can now mix ability in grouping depending with what you are looking at. There's styles of learning, and also, for example, I would put a very distracted child, a child with ADHD, with a child who is very focused and attentive, because then someone who shows leadership, because then you will try to redirect these students to focus on the board and even instruct the student. So I think in a nutshell, I would say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robin. Ms. Melvin, you just add one statement, please. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Aquilina, also for commenting regarding the naming of the words used. Ms. Melvin?
Yes, it's indeed one. When it comes to the naming of special needs, you'll realize that most schools shied away from it, because also we have to check on the needs or the confidence, the social bit of it, where some students really resist support because of the name. So most schools went for something like learning support. So depending on the school and how you want to name it, you have to consider those students also we also mold them to be socially stable if they are not comfortable with that special needs. Thank you, Mr. Felix.
Now I have Miss Melvin, thank you very much. I have Millicent and Florence wanting to say something. Not Florence, rather, Fred. I think these are the last two. I'm going to ask Miss Millicent.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something about collaborative teaching.
Please proceed.
Mr. Sagao mentioned it, but I think it addressed mostly the data technology side of it. But the way I see we do it, and it works sometimes in where I'm working at, we sometimes have what we call station teaching, where two different teachers or three different teachers who are teaching the same subject divide the students in groups. So they teach different, they have the same planning, but they teach different groups at the same time, and the kids keep on moving to different stations while that is done. They'll also the lead and support, where one teacher and assistant teacher, they have the same topic or unit of inquiry they're working on, but one is leading while the other one is assisting the other students on the side. And there's also the alternative teaching, where a teacher can pre-teach the students who are neurodivergent, and then they can also post-teach or whilst the topic is done. They can also do that. So once the topic has been taught in class, another teacher can come and reinforce what had been taught, or before the topic is taught, the teacher can pre-teach the neurodivergent students, so that when the topic is being taught, they are not like really left behind. So it really worked well. And then there's also the option of where you find one teacher is good in, let's say English, for example. One teacher is really good at delivering grammar, and then another teacher is really good at creative writing. So they can always co-teach, but the same class, but different topics. So you find when one teacher is auditory teacher or auditory learner, because most of the times teachers tend to fall back into how they also learn.
That is powerful, Millicent, sharing greatly on very many approaches of collaborative and cooperative learning. Miss Millicent, stay tuned. we take note of that, and we give you an opportunity to come and do a presentation of that if possible, if not a keynote. Please get ready for that. I'll be reaching out in the Educator Network or the other platform. Mr. Fred, I close this with you. Thank you, Mr. Fred, for not speaking. This is amazing. Well, thank you, people. This is coming to an end. In the interest of time, it's coming to an end. Thank you very much, Mr. Sagao. Let me close at this stage, if you allow me. Thank you. Okay, so it has been such an amazing moment together with fellow educators drawn from within the continent, some joining at 6 p.m., others joining at 7, 8, and now it's clocking 8 to some, others 9, and others are 10. So I would like, someone is on mute, not on mute, okay. So others are, joining, clocking at 10 p.m. Here in Kenya, we are at 10 p.m., 15 minutes to 10. And so I just want to take this opportunity to appreciate each and every one of us for joining this powerful session. I'll give this opportunity to Aquilina to conclude, and then from there, we can conclude this meeting. Ms. Aquilina, in 30 seconds, this is your moment. Ms. Aquilina, if you can hear me. Okay.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, please, I just give you 30 seconds to say something and complete your panel.
Hello, everyone. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session. It's been amazing. I hope everyone has learned a lot, just like I have, and we look forward to more of this. Yes, we are glad to have you.
Thank you, Aquilina. That has been an amazing moderator there. I was the assistant trying to see that we succeed in what we do. We needed to share a redeem code, but this time around it was not possible. Let me tell you what we'll do. Next Saturday, we have your principal, the head teachers from every school in Africa joining a wellness meeting. We shall be looking at these guys who don't rest over the holiday. As guys who've been on holiday, them they don't rest. And we'll be asking them, how do you do this? And how do you expect us even to come and teach with wellness? So join another keynote from Mr. Max Pavel. I'll put in the name of Max Pavel. If you know Max Pavel, is from Microsoft. Microsoft in Seattle. I don't know if they say Seattle or Seattle. In the US, he is SEL, that is social emotional learning specialist. And with him, after his keynote, which is going to submit to us next Saturday, we will also have the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association's chairperson, Mr. Kahi Indimuli, who is going to be joining us to speak to us on matters to do with wellness for school leaders. And that school leaders involves you, because you are a middle level school leader, or even the other levels of school leadership. Next, also we'll have Jen Kotsia of Crawford International School joining us for the panel discussion. We'll be joined by Ms. Chesa Kariuki from Rusinga Schools, head teacher. And finally, we'll have the Vice Chancellor of Kenya University, Mr. Mudeu Kasanga. You need to join. And this moment, we all raise our hands and clap for our, this is how I see in us doing learning support. This is how we do to clap. If you can see me, you can go to the icon, do clap for our panelists, Ms. Melvin Akinyi from the Leo Consulting, formerly from Crawford International School and Braeburn Schools. Thank you very much for being here with us. We are clapping for you now. I think this is how we do, Miss Perpetua, Miss Melvin. Miss Perpetua Onyala from Rusinga Schools, claps for you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Miss Robin from St. Andrews Turi from Nakuru in Nairobi, in Kenya. Claps for you, Mr. Robin. And we have our very own moderator, Aquilina Wafula from University of Nairobi. Clapping for you, my sister. And Mrs. Sagao from G Factory. We are here to clap for you as well, and for shining a light on the leaders and learners in our space. Thank you very much. And every participant, again, for each and every one of you, you can say, this is for me. You can clap for yourself. Thank you. What a moment, what a time to be alive, to be in Africa, to be around the world as an educator. What do you say, guys? Do you say thank you? Panelists, 1 second. Miss Melvin first.
I must say thank you very much. Do have a lovely evening, and to many more. This is the greatest forum to be. Thank you.
Amazing. Miss Melvin there. Mr. Moshe Robin. Mr. Robin, you are on mute. Sarah, please mute.
Sorry, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. I've been impressed by the numbers. I was expecting many people, but not this many. So it's really, really impressive, and I've learned a lot as well. Thanks.
This is where we meet, Mr. Robin. Now you can come and always be part of our team. Amazing team. Miss Perpetua, this is your 10th time here. Please tell us.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. Felix. Thank all our moderator for today. Thank you, our listeners, our viewers, and most importantly, I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to be in this forum today, and I'm looking forward to more. I've also learned so much from the session. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perpetua there, speaking from the heart. Mr. Sagao Clarence, I might say the right thing, or I might miss it out. Thank you very much for joining us. Please take the mic, Mr. Sagao.
All right. Thank you so much, first of all, for the organizers of this event, Felix and your group, and also for the unheard heroes who might also not be in this forum, but they did a lot of, marshalling people to attend. Thank you so much for the great attendance. Thank you so much for the attendees who came and we've learned together. I'm really grateful and honored to be part of this. We are teachers, we are educators, and we keep learning. We are lifelong learners, so thank you so much and God bless you.
Amazing. That is Mr. Sagao there. We have our amazing members also wanting to say something. Don't know, Constantine, Zombo, Regina, Kenneth, Bob, 1 second each. Let's start with Regina. Regina is there, raising a hand. Kenneth? All right, let me clap it at that. Mr. Bob, if you can speak. Oh, okay, Regina is getting the mic on now. Yes, Regina.
Okay, good evening, colleagues.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, it has been a very good session. I've learned a lot. I've refreshed. Let us have more of this so that we can get to learn more. Thank you so much. May God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Another person, one more person, and we close at that. Let me tell you, I love teachers, so I just want you to stay here, but I think we need to cap it up at this stage. If you want to join our community on WhatsApp, it's on the chat now. We have placed a link on the chat. Please join us. We have several communities that you've been able to build together with other educators. I'll place 2 links. One is for Educator Center, and I'll place another one for Educator Network. We call it Educator Network. We have A and B. So I'm going to place one for B because that one is still not full. Thank you very much for joining us for tonight. And this juncture, I want to call upon one person. One person, please. One person as we come to the end of the session. Okay. Okay. Someone needs to mute. Yes, yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, this is Robert.
Yes, Robert.
Robert Motari here.
Yes.
I'm happy to be part of this team. Working from Nairobi. What a wonderful evening to end like this and the weekend. That was great presenters. Thank you, Felix.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert. I think I'll request Sarah to mute. Sarah has been an issue today. Sarah, please mute. Thank you. Joel, are you here? Joel Kahindi? Joel Kahinde? If Joel is not here, I'm going to ask Bob to say one sentiment and pray for us. Mr. Bob Ondieki. Bob?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for my out on inclusivity. It is an honor to complete by a prayer. Let us pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we want to thank you for having with us since the beginning of this meeting. Father, may we apply what we've learned for the betterment of education in this country and this continent. May what we've learned help us uplift and improve the standard of performance of our students as we include all of them in our studies. Thank you. As we are going to rest, may you give us a restful night. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, I pray.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed evening. Bye for now.
Thank you. It was quite insightful. Thank you.
Amen. Bye.
Felix.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.